Hey guys, welcome to the Rabbit Hole Show. This is episode 4. It's Charles, Chad, whatever you call me. And also, KC is here.
Hello.
So sorry we've been away for almost 2 weeks. Had some things come up and KC had to go to Ohio and take care of some family things. But we're back, better late than never. So a lot's kind of happened since we talked last. Good things and tough things, but this episode, I kind of wanted to dive into some things I've been listening and also watching movies. I'm a big movie guy. I love watching movies, but
You just perfected your Netflix.
my algorithm, it's taken years, but I've perfected it, I think, to my liking. So I'll talk about one of those movies a little later on. But a church I was at down in Oxford, Mississippi, when I was, I guess, 2019, April and May, down in Oxford, 2019. But it's a church I went to. I believe in God. Don't push it on anyone. But I think this sermon this clip from the sermon speaks on volumes, especially it did to me. But I'm just going to hit play. I already got it queued up. And it's a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, if that. And then we'll talk about that for a little bit. But take a listen.
One of my favorite stories in the scripture that just gives me confidence in this day and time comes from Daniel chapter 4, when there's this king named Nebuchadnezzar. He is a pagan king, does not fear God yet, and he's very, very powerful, and he has subjugated the people of God, and he's kind of arrogant about it. Not kind of arrogant, he's very arrogant about it, and he has a nightmare, and he can't make sense of the nightmare. And so Daniel comes to him and says, I know what your nightmare means. Your nightmare means your pride is getting the best of you. And if you don't humble yourself before the God of all creation, he's going to take your sanity and you're going to live like a wild animal for 7 years until you acknowledge God's really in control. Y'all remember this story?
I think I do.
And Nebuchadnezzar was like scared straight for a while. That ever happened to you? Scared straight for a while? I'll go, snap, get in line, but your heart wasn't changed. He was scared straight, but his heart wasn't changed. And about a year later, he's up on his roof and he's just looking out at the city. He's like, dang, I'm the man. God took his sanity and he lived like a wild animal for 7 years until he acknowledged that God is the ruler over the realm of mankind and God puts over it whoever he wants. You know what that story does for me? It gives me great peace in the midst of our troubled days, that it doesn't matter who's sitting in charge of North Korea or Russia or China or any other nation or at the UN or the US or Canada or Mexico or any other country. God reigns. And that's where our peace comes from. That's where our confidence comes from. He is the King, eternal, and ain't nobody gonna change that. He is the immortal one. That's what it says. He's the immortal one. It means.
All right. And I will post that link to that sermon. It's from Pine Lake Church down in Oxford, Mississippi. Again, I was there in 2019, April and May. But yeah, so I wanted to play that for y'all. Mama Bear sent that to me. Listened to that last night driving around. Shared it with a few people and thought that little clip was kind of a good segue. And for episode 4, listened. The title of that again is Reason to Give Thanks. And as the guy speaking, the pastor down there was talking about pride and arrogance and not fearing God, and you heard it, so I don't need to repeat it, but that was me. I admitted that before now, but I think I was clouded by my state and what I thought I had to be and what I was dealing with and all the emotions I had kept bottled down and never discussed or opened up about. And until, as I stated in episode 3 and talked about, woke up off life support, not knowing what had happened, and segue kind of into something we'll talk about later that I heard last night, or I guess was at, but I recorded a little clip of the song that was singing, and it segues or kind of correlates with what I'm discussing right now. Waking up, your lungs, not fearing God, thinking you're immortal, invincible, nothing's going to happen to you. Well, sure enough, it did to me. It's happened to a lot of people I know. Casey, I'm sure, testify to some things that have happened in his life.
Amen.
We all can. It doesn't have to be on the same spectrum of events, but we're all dealing with stuff, and it's how we deal with it and how we help each other. And without the support here and without God, I wouldn't be here. But there's a lot to give thanks. One who has to learn it the hard way. You could tell me 1,000 times and I'm going to do it my way, which there's pros and cons, but I learned all the cons before I started to learn the pros, if that makes sense to y'all.
There's a good verse, but it's with much knowledge comes much grief.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing that, because if I hadn't experienced everything that I've experienced, I've been through, things that I've told y'all already, things that I'm going to share, just things that have happened in my life that wouldn't mean anything to me. I was invincible, immortal, had pride, arrogance. And I'm sure a lot of people noticed it, some people, to certain people, but it took me to hitting that flat line to wake up and realize. And also the incident that happened prior, 25 days prior in Tennessee, that's, still going on, but is over basically. Didn't think either of those would ever happen. I didn't think most things would happen to me, and they did. And I kept saying, it's a normal day, until you hit that end where there is no more, unless you get that second chance like I did. So yeah, I want to kind of segue in just a song that I actually took my mom to her prayer meeting at Central Church of God here in Charlotte. They do it every Monday night, I think 7 to 8. And I'm not an emotional guy. I've gotten more emotional, but used to be stone cold. But this song was playing, and I think it's 40 seconds maybe, I'm not sure. But I was kind of tearing up, crying, and just felt at peace and tears of joy, not sadness or anything. But anyways, here I'm gonna just play it for y'all and let y'all listen. And need to mute my phone next time. Sorry. Here we go. Jeez, I told myself I was going to mute that. I'm sorry, y'all. It's muted now. But just how how blessed I am. And I just am reminded by that daily in the words in the song. And I'll put this song on our Instagram story or something for y'all to see, since I'm sure it was hard to hear. But it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. And I'm sure not everyone listening is a believer, and that's fine. I think you can relate words, music to anything. This, again, is a mental health community and my story, but literally didn't have air in my lungs or whatever, however that works when you life support and, they code you and then they bring you back. But just, and, speaking about it right now is tough, but just how, I get a, selfish son of just thinking everything was going to be handed to me. No one could touch me, invincible. And until you find out the hard way you're not, it's a reality check, slap in the face. But some people take that as a wake-up call and others don't. And, you can only stay in your lane, take care of yourself. You can help others, but you can't help yourself. You can't help others until you help yourself. And not everyone's going to make the fight. We all make it up until, our purpose has been served, I believe. But those words, I was just like, wow, I was being a selfish son of a bitch, honestly, just doing whatever I wanted. I put others before myself, but it wasn't necessarily those around me or living how I should have been. But yeah, so sorry, there's a lot I want to talk about, but time link, just trying to keep these episodes short. I'll post stories on the or explaining more to answer your questions. Please ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer and dive deeper. But so moving along, I'm watching a movie, as I said, Netflix. The algorithm's terrible unless you put in work movies and that you want to see pop up quickly. So I mean, sometimes I'll instead of watching a movie, go through and just rate movies that I know and like, and so the algorithm puts them in front of me. Yeah. So the movie I watched, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen, if not, check it out. It's about two brothers and they kind of go different ways in life. The movie takes Hannah, but it's called A River Runs Through It. And the younger brother in the movie kind of reminded myself, and I'm glad I woke up when I did and realized how precious life is. But something happens, I'm not going to ruin it, but the younger brother has struggles throughout the whole movie. But it just kind of made me realize and take an event time in my life that, you know, was very hard and rough. And rough as in mentally, just daily, didn't want to get out of bed, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to express my feelings. But an incident happened, and I know this is a touchy subject, but suicide. You know, I'd had thoughts before, plans, but couldn't do it, was stopped, or, I mean, God, honestly. But it got to the point where I wasn't going to be able to do it, so I needed somebody else to do it. So you can put two and two together. If not, you can ask me. But, and no, not assisted. I mean, in a way, but
You're looking for trouble.
I was looking for trouble. We'll put it that way. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to hear, but it's, you know, my story, and I don't want people to have to go through stuff I went through. So I'm being vulnerable, which is something I've never been before up until recently. And it's helping me in my sanity and mental well-being. But an incident happened, and I won't go into much detail right now, but a weapon was pulled, and I was kind of begging for that weapon to be used on me. And looking at it in view down on my life at that point, from an outsider, everything was good. But deep down it wasn't, because I hadn't opened up yet and still had a lot of demons to face. And I really didn't know what to do. Each day was a fight. So yeah, I took it to the streets and was hoping that would happen. You know, I made it so, and can talk about it, but it's not easy. And I know that my life is changing for the good and better, because, you know, I don't joke about those times anymore. I remember the pain and hurt surrounding those events. Whereas prior to earlier this year or a few months ago, those were stories, you know, war stories I could tell and had no emotion behind them, but now they do. Because it wasn't just me that suffered. It was, you know, others that my support, and yeah, but it's real, because I was talking with my dad earlier, and some teenager in the church committed suicide this week. I don't know who it was or any circumstances, but it's not the answer. It definitely seems like it at times, yeah, but your mind's clouded. So, and one more, you know, I was just watching the news, which I shouldn't, but there's just a lot more incidences that are happening with mass casualties. Like an SUV drove into I think Thanksgiving parade or something in Wisconsin yesterday or 2 days ago, killing several. And I don't know the circumstances surrounding everything, but to me, it all stems from mental health and how you deal with issues that are affecting your life. And the result is not violence, self-harm, or anything negative. I mean, yeah, the days are tough and dark, but you got to reach out, get help, because there's light at the other side of the tunnel, But yeah, I mean, episode 4, I guess, it's been a lot, but we have a lot to give thanks for, even in amidst the times that we are in right now, with COVID and just, all the evil that we see. Well, you just have to look at it and learn from your mistakes and others' mistakes so you don't have to make those mistakes, and just help out your neighbor. Hold the door for the person at Chipotle Price's Chicken Coop, which I wish was still here. But, it doesn't take much to be nice and just be a normal community member to everyone. It doesn't take much. But, yeah, so I'll post the videos and links of the videos and a sermon that I talked about, and also the movie A River. But, yeah, I mean, Casey, I've talked a lot. I mean, what are your thoughts as we close?
No, I think everything you said was good. I think the big played was a big part they got from the sermon that he played is not even just the God thing. You can drive yourself crazy and lose your sanity when you won't put your ego. You have to humble yourself, because there's so many things that are outside of your control. Even King Nebuchadnezzar, who thought he was ruler of Babylon,
Mm-hmm.
He was
also. Let me know if you can
city.
spell King Nebuchadnezzar, because I know I can't. But rabbit hole moment. But keep going.
But that's the point. That's the whole point of the story. Is you have to be able to humble yourself and check your ego and your pride.
People can tell you
outside your control, and you need to listen to them and yourself.
Because people can tell you over and over and over, which they did for me. Don't do this. Learn from my mistakes. Why did you making the same mistake again? Did you not learn? Just over and over. And I literally, as I said earlier, had my blinders on, didn't accept it, because the biggest thing for me and my mental health was acceptance, and that didn't happen up until February in Tennessee, when I really learned what acceptance was. And it wasn't over. I'm still learning acceptance, but I thought that was going to be my rock bottom. But I mean, a month later, 2 months later,
just like Nebuchadnezzar,
but that's what it took for me to understand. I got to drop my pride, ego, and be humble, because life before me realizing and actually being humble, it was tiring compared to now. Now the only tired is from work and staying up late recording the podcast for y'all, but I enjoy that. So
that's fun.
Exactly. And this helps me kind of like it's a journal, because I don't like to write. As I said, I do, but my arthritis, and I'm too ADD to be able to write, and it'll be notes in college and high school were terrible for me. Literally, I had trails because I knew where it was going. But yeah. So anyways, episode 4, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube.
Like, comment, review.
And we'll have the links and Instagram, and stay tuned. Also, happy Thanksgiving, safe travels, and stay blessed, and we will God, that was terrible.
Stay blessed, and we will see you in the next episode.
Alrighty, this is Charles out, and we'll see y'all after Thanksgiving.
So long.